You're listening to Big World Network.
Phineas Frakture and the Curse of Steamhotep, Episode 10, written by Joseph Gatch, read by Michael Young. Steamhotep, a man from the past in defiance of all that was logical, scientific, and of common sense, was standing before Phineas Frakture, asking for help. Phineas, though dumbfounded as to why this was the case, refused to submit to doubt, denial, or fear, as so many would do if they were in the same position. "He wishes your help, sir," replied Sweepio's head. "I heard you the first time." Phineas took the head from William and held it out to Steamhotep. "Translate. Do you understand me?" After a few misinterpretations on Sweepio's part, and discovering that cattle will be ferried down the Nile in the springtime, communication was finally established. Steamhotep took the head and turned it over in his hands. Deftly, he opened the back panel and inserted his fingers. "Oh my," was the only thing Sweepio said before his voice became chillingly unfamiliar. Steamhotep manipulated the keys inside the head, making Sweepio an extension of himself. Phineas was amazed how quickly and how easily the mummy adapted to technology. The voice from the head, speaking with a thick accent, began its tale. "My name is Steamhotep." The bright morning sun's rays streamed through the open window, bathing a scale model of what would become the grand city of Thebes. Steamhotep, architect to the pharaoh and gods, strolled around the model, admiring his vision. The city would be the greatest in all the land. It would be his final project. After this, he would retire from Pharaoh's service, and he would take his beloved Amisi and live a life of luxury, looking out upon the jewel he had created. Nothing could be more perfect. A commotion outside broke through his thoughts, and before he could see what the cause was, the doors flew open, admitting Kabeknet, a fellow architect and rival. He was talented, but not a genius as Steamhotep was. The pharaoh favored Steamhotep's designs and quick building methods over Kabeket's traditional use of slaves. "What are you doing?" Kabeket yelled, his voice booming through the chamber. "Do you not have enough to do without taking all the projects away from the architects in the city? Is the price of your glory the starvation of the rest? Is this not enough for the great Steamhotep?" Kabeknet swept his arms over the model dramatically. "Kabeknet, you are too slow. It is not my fault that people come to me for my ideas. If you cannot compete, then go to another city, where they wish to be dead before they see their buildings complete." Kabeknet flinched at the barb and raised his finger. "Mark my words, abomination. You will push too far, and you will regret what you have done." Having said his piece, and having enough of Steamhotep's smugness, Kabeknet turned and noisily stormed out as he had entered. Steamhotep unconsciously rubbed the prosthetic left hand that was the butt of Kabeknet's insult. The man knew how to ruin a perfectly good day, and Steamhotep gloomily flicked over one of the tiny buildings with his good index finger. It was true. Steamhotep was on the obsessive side when it came to projects, and he probably took on more than he could handle. However, he needed to see this through to fruition, and the smaller projects were just distractions for the downtime that he suffered when his main projects were in transitional phases. He needed the work, needed the occupation. Steamhotep crossed the room and lifted the lid from an ornate ivory box. Inside, sitting on a cushion of silk, was his greatest invention, the Heart of Ra. With it, several systems within the kingdom could be controlled through a central point. Instead of having to wind mechanisms all over the city, this central control could regulate gear systems throughout the area, each branching off to different sections of the city. And it would run indefinitely. The size and placement of the gears would create power for water flow, provide power for mills and machines of all types, making the city autonomous. Replacing the lid, Steamotep left the room and hurried to one of the work sites. He received friendly greetings from the workers, something Quebecnet would never get from his mistreated slaves. He looked up at one of the monuments flanking the entrance to the counting-house. Pharaoh would be pleased with the likeness. As he studied the base for any flaws, some dust landed on his shoulder. Thinking that it came from a worker above, he paid it no mind. By the time he realized that there were no workers up on the scaffolding, it was too late. A large section of the statue had broken off and was falling as Steamotep looked up. Warnings were shouted too late as the massive stone fell on top of the architect and rolled off. His workers quickly tended to him, carrying him back to the office and bringing in a physician. Steamotep was conscious when he was given the bad news. Half of his torso was crushed, and it was only a matter of time before his body failed him. The left side of his skull was also damaged by the stone, and he had lost his left eye. However, Steamotep was not one to surrender so easily. He called in his greatest apprentices and instructed them on what to do. "Everything you need is here," he told them. "I have been perfecting artificial bones and limbs. You will assist the doctor in replacing what is destroyed." "But what about controlling multiple functions?" they asked. "An arm, yes, but legs as well?" Steamotep pointed towards the ivory box. "That will serve everything. The heart of Ra will control it all." Surgery was performed, but the prognosis was dire. As was tradition, a high priest was called in to tend to his spirit. Rites were performed. However, as passages from the coffin text were read, and Anubis was called upon to guide their friend to the afterlife, one of Steamotep's assistants realized that they had not wound the heart of Ra. He quickly grabbed the key from the box and inserted it into the heart. What happened next can only be described as a miracle. Or curse. The sky darkened, and mystic forces took hold of the rebuilt body of Steamotep. It is said that Anubis himself breathed life back into the architect, rejecting the hybrid entry into the beyond, and made him immortal instead. From the heart of Ra, new gears began to spring forth, mending and fortifying the body. A new mechanical eye emerged from his skull. As the priest, doctor, and assistants watched, a new man emerged from the old. When it was over, Steamotep held his audience in awe as he stood up from his bed, a blend of machine and man. "After my transformation, things began to change for me," said Steamotep. "Such as?" asked Phineas as he sat down on a crate. "My beloved Amici shunned me as a monster. She turned to another man for comfort, and I could only see her from a distance. No one wanted to do business with me, mainly due to Quebecnet's campaign to destroy my name, claiming that I was a demon from the underworld. My vision of Thebes was no longer realized, and its construction progressed slowly, though I saw it all. From isolation, I watched everyone I knew grow old. I saw Amici have children that should have been mine, and their children having children. Generations went by, and I slowly decayed as the glory of the kingdoms decayed. I tried to stop the heart, but it would not be removed or smashed by conventional means. After a while I accepted my fate and began teaching my trade. I took pupils who were willing to learn from an outcast. They did not, however, appreciate the knowledge that I imparted upon them, thinking that I was a charlatan and that my engineering was dark magic. Finally, the heart of Ra began to wind down. Centuries had passed. My tomb, which I built earlier in life, was barren, the engravings having been worn off through inclement weather and vandalism. When it came time, the heart stopped. I was mummified and was laid to rest in my sarcophagus, with instructions for my assistants to seal the tomb. I had had enough of life and the pain that it caused. I was ready for eternal slumber." "If that were the case, why did you have the key to the heart placed in the tomb?" asked William. "It was a mistake made by my assistant," answered Steamotep. "He thought it was valuable to me since I kept it close all my years. I saw him place it in the tomb, but could do nothing. The heart had stopped. But you could still see him, and you were mummified alive? Phineas was astounded. I often wonder if I am alive, or dead, or caught between worlds. I am forever conscious, though. The heart of Ra contains my spirit. I was aware of everything for 2,000 years. I soon went mad, then found contentment, then madness again. A never-ending cycle. When the man you call Kavanagh unearthed my tomb, I was angry for being disturbed. Then, after you began examining the heart, I knew that you were a kindred spirit, and that you could be the one who could end my curse. Phineas looked at the ancient builder and rubbed his chin. The heart is nothing that can be dismantled. I have tried. The magic of Anubis is too powerful. It regenerates before I can remove it. Then we'll have to remove it in a way that will be faster than magic. And how do you plan on doing that? Asked William. Phineas arched his right eyebrow. Come now, old friend. Who can destroy anything better than I can?
You're listening to Big World Network.